Everybody loves rankings, but you know what? We're going to give you something even more helpful. We're going to go through the top 10 running backs that you could actually draft based on round by round ADP. That's right. We're going to pick each round a guy that we like the best and who you should be taking at that spot. Round one, you know who the studs are, but Chris, when it comes down to it, who's that guy you want first as your running back?
I mean, look, if you've watched pretty much any of our videos this year, any of our live streams, you pretty much know how we feel about this. We love CMC. We love Eckler. I think we both love JT. I know I really like JT. I think maybe you kind of sort of like JT. I'm not really sure. But anyways, they're all studs. But we really love Bijan Robinson. Look, I get a lot of comments about like, oh, he's a rookie running back. Like, okay, there's been, I think, 19 rookie running backs drafted in the top 10 since, I think, 2010. And almost all of them finished as a top 10 PPR running back. All but one finished as a top 10 PPR running back. And the two running backs that were kind of considered generational talents, Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott, both averaged over 20 fantasy points per game. I think Bijan is going to smash this year. So Bijan is the guy for me in the first round.
Now, you're probably going to see a couple of running backs taken early in round one, which leaves then that next tier of guys for round two. Who is it? well, look, I'm going to start by saying, honestly, most of the time, I'm probably drafting wide receiver in round two. But given the choices here, it's close between Pollard and Saquon. I'm going to still lean Saquon for now. And I say that because this whole holdout thing and not being in love with having the franchise tag, I think it's going to resolve itself. I'm pretty sure he'll be playing. Obviously, that would change things, and that would change his ADP too right now. But I don't think that Pollard is going to just get as many touches as Barkley. And I still believe, as you should too, that for running back, volume is king. Barkley is going to have that pass-catching ceiling. A guy like Chubb, he's not going to have that. Pollard will be involved, but I just don't see bell cow usage. So I've got to give Barkley the edge. Now, round three, this is where it gets interesting. You've got a lot of quality choices, and any of these guys could wind up being your RB1 for fantasy. But who do you like the best?
Yeah, definitely some guys here I like. Obviously, Jacobs, if he doesn't hold out, got to like him, got to like Najee, but I'm all aboard Ramondre Stevenson this year. He's going to be a workhorse. He's going to catch a ton of passes. He was great last year. This offense is still going to run the ball. And hopefully with Bill O'Brien, they actually have a real NFL offense and they'll have more opportunities to score. So for me, I am all aboard Ramondre Stevenson train. In the third round, to me, that's almost like an auto pick every time.
Now, when you get to round four, I'm going to look to see if any of those previous running backs will fall. If I can get a guy like Najee, I will do it every time. But looking at the way draft boards are typically falling right now, I will say I was a little skeptical. I am a little bit still about Jahmyr Gibbs, but I think if he's there in round four, you do take him. We know Detroit has big plans for him, which is why they drafted him when they did. We know he's going to be involved as a pass catcher. And so even in half PPR leagues, you have to take that in consideration. And look, Detroit has a great offensive line. They are going to give him enough touches that he will be viable. Maybe he can actually stay healthy and be what DeAndre Swift was supposed to be and actually be productive on a week-to-week basis. So I think the ceiling is just so high. And look, I would just say honestly, between him and like a Travis Etienne, if Etienne is still there in round four, I'm still leaning Gibbs. All right, what about round five?
I feel like I'm just getting, the layups here. Like every time it comes to my round, it's like there's a guy I just love in this round. And look, I like Dameon Pierce. I think Kenneth Walker's an okay value here, but man, I cannot pass up on J.K. Dobbins in the fifth round. I've been talking about this guy all off season. He looked great down the stretch last year. Three of his last 5 games over 100 yards, 4 of his last 5 games over 93 yards, and he wasn't even close to 100% yet. You could just tell by the way he was running. He should be full go, 100% this year. You and I keep talking about it. This offense is going to be different. It's going to be better. It's going to be more dynamic. There's nobody there to steal touches from him. Yeah, I wish he caught more passes, but I think he has tremendous touchdown upside this year. And he's the type of guy, 100 plus yards every week is a possibility for him. So to me, J.K. Dobbins in the fifth all day long.
Now, by the time you get to round 6, most of the starting running backs for their club are just going to be off the board. These guys start to have question marks. But I think it's funny that what we see here based on the way drafts are playing out, you have this year's Philadelphia Eagles running back and last year's Eagles running back. So between the two, yeah, I'll take the guy who's on that team this year, and that is DeAndre Swift. We know what the issues are. There's all sorts of red flags here. But man, I will still, at least for one more year, take that shot on him. Being that guy, he's playing for a contract. Like maybe just being in Detroit and being running back still has that kind of bad juju, the curse of Barry Sanders, whatever it is. I'm going to take a shot on the guy who's on one of the best offenses in the league, who's got a ton of talent and wants to get the bag. All right, now round 7. Are you getting value here, or are you taking on risk?
I think you're getting value here. I think there's a lot of value in this round, honestly. I think Madison's a good value. I think Pacheco's a good value. I think even Dalvin Cook, Dusty Dalvin Cook, I think is a good value in this round. But man, to me, your boy Cam Akers is the guy you got to take here in round 7. He was a workhorse down the stretch last year. No reason that should change. Look, I like Zach Evans, who they just drafted this year, but he's not a real threat. Either is Kyron Williams. No one's a real threat to his workload here. Stafford seems healthy. Sean McVay is back. The offensive line should be better. He's now, 2 full years removed from the Achilles, so he should at least be good enough when it comes to, his burst and his quickness and things like that. So for me, round 7, I think all these running backs are fine values, but Cam Akers is the one that just jumps off the page to me.
Now we get to round 8, looking for guys who are either veterans you get at a discount or maybe some young players who could step up, but we're not quite sure. I do like Monty here. I mean, we already talked about in Detroit, that offense will run through those running backs, both of them. I think both Monty and Gibbs are actually great values where they're going. But I'm going to take a shot on the guy who could be a breakout running back, and I'm not talking about James Cook, although he could be it. Let's talk about Rachaad White, because he's going to be the guy in Tampa Bay. It doesn't look like they're going to sign a veteran and somebody else to share the load. Fournette's still out there. Zeke's still out there. Dalvin Cook's still out there. They've shown no interest. And this team will have to rely on the running game. But not just that, you know what Rachaad White's strength is? He's a pass-catching running back, and they're going to dump it off, I think, a lot to him just out of necessity. So you know what? I will take that shot. I don't want to look for a guy who's safe here. I want a guy who is a potential game breaker and league winner, and I think White's that guy. All right, now we're down to round 9. Who looks like the best pick?
Yeah, speaking of potential league winners, I mean, I like A.J. Dillon. I like Brian Robinson here. I like Samaje Perine here, but I think those guys are just going to be like fine to good running backs. And we're in round 9. I don't want just fine to good running backs. I want potential game changers, week winners, and I think that's going to be Devon Achane. No, he's probably not going to have the consistency of those other guys, but he's going to have the ability to win you weeks. And I think the nice thing we're going to see about Devon Achane this year, he's probably not going to be a guy you want to start week in and week out, but when he has those really good matchups against those bad run defenses, you're probably going to want him in your lineup because he's the type of guy that on any play can take it to the house, and you want that potential 50, 60, 70-yard home run touchdown in your lineup. And the nice thing here, like I said, if it's a tough run defense, you're probably just going to sit him because he's not built to play against tough run defenses. So for me, in round 9, give me the guy who can win me weeks. I'll plug him in when he's in those soft matchups. I'll bench him when he's in the tougher matchups.
And to round out our top 10, we'll look at the options that are available. Look, you're going to be tempted to pick a star, former star, I should say, like Alvin Kamara. I'm not doing that. You might want to look for a guy who's in a great system like San Francisco, like Eli Mitchell. I'm not doing that. I will take a chance on a guy who I think is going to get more volume and be more efficient with his touches. That's actually Antonio Gibson. I'm starting to come around a little bit here. Chris, I actually like Brian Robinson quite a bit where he's going, but the fact that Gibby is going even later than him, and he's going to be the one catching passes, not Robinson, that makes him so tempting. I don't expect that he's going to have this monster breakout season or anything like that, but I do think that now finally his value is appropriate where he should be going because the expectations were too high from earlier. Now they're reasonable, and now he actually might wind up being at his best, have his most productive fantasy season. So he's definitely a shot worth taking on. If you didn't already catch the top 10 wide receivers that you can actually draft round by round, well, now's your chance. Go ahead and click here.